Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramsukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshya Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Sthiti Prakaraṇa, section 4. And the topic is always the most cherished topic that you can ever imagine. A topic that is always important. And it will be always the only topic. And that's I am. The whole world rests on me and mine. And me and mine are emanating from I am. In a humorous way, with modern technology and advancement, we can't always go on quoting snake on the rope. But little iPad superimposed upon the big iPad. Nothing bad about it. Everyone has a little iPad. But the iPad may bring so many things, but it doesn't cover all of you. It's handled by your fingers. Now, what I'm leading you to understand, that all human experiences of all the vast knowledge, history, geography, astronomy, medicine, science, in different aspects, the study of stars, past, present, and future. That entire process operates through your nervous system in a not very good looking house, a skull, brain, and nervous system. That has created all the drama. And therefore, really the truth is beyond this drama. That truth is your instinctive concept about yourself. I am. But then I am, what is that I am? Instead of going after me, mine, and many other things, can't your mind go after the I am? Catch him first. Catch the I, you've got everything. What's that knowing which? All is known. Upanishads brought out this simple statement. Now let's see how the sage Vasistha goes on highlighting this point and paving the way to gaining insight into I am. And also you have to understand in the very beginning that in this process, two stages of knowledge. One is intellectual knowledge, but that intellectual knowledge is totally different from the intellectual knowledge needed for your studies, academic studies, and relating to the world in different aspects. Here, this intellectual knowledge is called parokṣa jñāna. Intellect has to be very sensitive. And sensitivity has to be promoted by vivek, your constant progressive understanding of what is real. Vairagya, dispassion, not going after the entanglements that you cannot handle. So as that, and discipline of integral yoga in daily life, when all that operates, then what you understand about Brahman, there is a kind of a clarity of understanding relating to the message of the scriptures. That understanding is totally of a different nature. Because every step in that understanding creates a change in your personality. If you have been an angry person, you don't wait for enlightenment to be free of it. You go on sublimating it. Learn the art of yajna. So, parokṣa jñāna, indirect knowledge itself, is of a totally different quality. And it requires a lot of vairagya, a lot of good association, a lot of sadhana. Then you are able to follow the parokṣa jñāna. That's not yet your realization. But next comes aparokṣa jñāna. Aparokṣa is a direct revelation. Again, reminding you of the two terminologies. Bhava pratyaya, pratyaya bhava. All knowledge that you have is based on the thought waves of your mind. So in that category of thought waves of your mind, the understanding that all this is illusion is still a matter of thought waves. But however, it is most advanced. So when you have that understanding, it is called pratyaya bhava. Rather, it's called bhava pratyaya. Bhava pratyaya means you have turned to an understanding that is confined to the projections of the citta. But you have come to the highest level, bhava pratyaya. But when you have come to that, the entire pratyaya movement, projection movement, begins to fade away. So it is called pratyaya bhava. Bhava pratyaya, pratyaya bhava. Existence of pratyaya, that's what all experiences are within there. And pratyaya itself, the mind itself dissolves. So there is no projections. If you are trapped by a cinema show, two ways you can be untrapped. One way, to realize it is a show. So don't show your tears. There's no need to. And second, the projection completely moves away. And these are the stages. From indirect, first indirect and then direct. Put it in a more simpler way to understand. Cloud has been obstructing the light of the sun. The light was not only obstructing but refracting. First stage, an insight must develop that behind all refracted lights created by the cloud, there is illusion. Nothing is real. When that begins to develop, now the cloud itself begins to shine through the rays of the sun until it becomes completely dissolved. So first you are dealing with the cloud, its obstruction, cloud with its refraction, and then uncloud. It is the mind that dies. It is the mind that is born. In all your experiences, mind is the common denominator. Take mind away, how can there be the experience? You say to yourself, I'm under stress. But under stress, with mind, I'm happy. It's mind. Mind plus variables. I know the world is illusion. Again, this is also another mind. But from practical point of view, it is a positive movement. So all that you are experiencing, I was small baby, the pocket size, the addition. All the history about it. When you were born, you never saw that you were born. It's the biggest lie. You are told not to lie. Speak the truth. But in every dealing, you have to show your birth date. Speaking more precisely, it's a hearsay. You didn't say it. Somebody has told you. So all your experiences, the concept, I have done a lot of good karmas, or negative way, whichever way. The whole calculation of how much I have achieved, how many things have happened. Behind all that is the magic of mind. Suppose your iPad was to develop a kind of a spiritual quality, I suddenly start talking to you. Look, how much I have helped you. I have brought everything of this world, from Alaska to New Zealand. at your fingertips. So that's the way the mind is. Brings the entire world, including bondage and release. It is the mind that enters into bondage by sustaining the erroneous concept of the world as real. As long as you don't understand the magic displayed by your mind, and whatsoever mind projects, you consider that as real, that becomes bondage, that becomes a source of misery, pain. And likewise, it is the mind that attains liberation by melting the mist of the world process, by the shining rays of intuitional vision. Just as fragrance abides in and emanates from flowers, in the same way, the world abides in and arises out of the mind. Just as oil is hidden in sesame seeds, qualities of an object hidden in an object, and effects are hidden in the cause. In the same way, the world is hidden in the mind. Just as rays abide in the sun, heat in fire, coolness in ice, vacuity in space, motion in wind, so too this world abides in the mind. Helping to understand by so many similes. Mind indeed is this world. So don't forget that important point. It is not, your ducks are not in the world. Your ducks are your mental process. What you are is stored by your mind as samskaras, that's the mother duck. What you have created as vasanas, those are the egg ducks, eggs. And from those vasanas that are coming closer to your conscious state, they are like the chickens, baby ducks, ducklings, no shivlings, ducklings. So therefore, focus must be directed towards how to put these ducks together, how to bring about a profound movement within your mind. Asatoma sadgamaya, from unreal to real. Allow the mind not to enjoy illusions, not to enjoy building castles in the air. Just build up a little house, that's better. Mind indeed is this world. And the world is nothing but the mind. So instead of going into all how many things I have to achieve and big word, simple point, what are you doing with your mind? Are you allowing your mind to learn the art of positive thinking? Are you giving the mind the opportunity to become serene? Are you allowing the mind to gather higher form of impressions, not worldly muck? That simple common sense point is not something very big to understand. All the life you live in, it is the mind that will give you, the type of mind that will give you the real taste of your life. If mind is not qualitative, what's that? All living and lot of money and lots and lots of lots. And put it in another way, while you are living in your life, the real fulfillment in your life comes when you begin to understand the art of turning the mind to the truth. The art of controlling the mind, making the mind positive. And of course, positive mind means Godward mind. And Godward mind means mind fades away. The best time you have where mind is not active. Figure that out. Normally, in sleep, that's the best time people have in masses. But coming to a little more progressive state, even while you are doing various chores, can be extremely busy, but your mind has been organized well. You can enjoy serenity even in the midst of all. Rather, performing your duties well, living your life in a dynamic way, that's the secret behind possessing serenity of mind. The more you have the quality of being the sky, greater you have the ability to handle chaos created by clouds. Even if the world were to be physically destroyed, sometimes people develop that narrow-minded interpretation of scriptures. That world is the source of all trouble. And unless this world is out of my sight, I will not attain liberation. So can we devise some method to crush this whole world now? To follow that argument. That way the world will never be destroyed. Your world is in your mind. In other words, destroying ignorance is totally different process than destroying objects that come in your way as obstacles. Thorn comes, you remove it. And many things, obstacles, you crush them. But here the obstacle is in the form of misunderstanding, in the form of darkness. The physical illustration is darkness versus light. During the night, you are harassed by shadows and dark forces. And with the rising sun, the rays, again dramatizing, when they start All the forces of darkness run. They're not running anywhere. And ultimately they are burnt up. But they're not really burnt up, nothing. They never existed. So that is the subtle point behind you, the problems that you face. It's not easy to understand because it's a shocking type of revelation. Problem of problems. You are facing your embodied state. All problems are nothing compared to such fragile body from the toes to the head. Facing so many insecurities and risky situations at every step. But behind all that, the good news, there is something within you that puts you in a stage that you don't have to even think about it. Don't think about it. What is making the nails to grow? What are the problems in nature? I'm just joking, but in a simple way to understand. Countless mysterious functions go on, and you don't have to be involved in it. Now, the moral of it, likewise, the whole world and all its functions, they are the operations of forces of darkness. In a profound level of revelation, I am the sun. All this vanishes. It is that point that mind has to be hammered on. Everything else is a big distraction. But no matter how distracted you are, ultimately you have to follow this path. The world of distraction will never leave you in a state of full satisfaction. And of course, Hindu culture also always presents to you, have countless embodiments you have gone through. And that will continue. Sri Rama asked, O sage, you are the knower of the secrets of dharma. Dharma is ethical value of life. You are the knower of the supreme reality. Please explain to me, how is it possible for this vast universe to exist within the mind? This is perfectly normal, but it's like a kind of childlike curiosity, because it's not easy to understand, though it is so simple and yet so difficult. You are told the world is illusion. Anything you see and perceive is not real. Now you become very troubled. How is it? Simple point. Your senses are the one that is bringing you a sense of reality. Your senses are the source of your authentic experience, pramana. But are you senseless? Don't you understand? Your senses are not perfect. So everyone is satisfied with the way the senses are. Millions of human beings, they experience the world in a particular way, as a human being. That world is as illusory as the world being experienced by other creatures. Same world. The camel has such magic in the saliva movement. Even thorns become like nice salad. I will not go into too much detail. There's lots of stories to come right here. Sri Vasistha said, "O Rama, listen to the story of Śukrācārya, the son of sage Bhrigu." Always this was an art of teaching. In ancient time, when there were no films, no TVs, the ashram had to provide entertainment. The entertainments, they were so profound that you really don't miss anything. So now that's the entertaining story. Sage Bhrigu, he has emanated from the Creator Brahma. It's a storyline. And he had a son called Shukra. Literally Shukra. Shukra means, Shu means auspicious, something divine. Kra, that which leads you to something wonderful. That was the name, Shukra. Later he becomes Śukrācārya, the teacher. And he is given a difficult task to handle the demons. So as the guru of demoniac forces, that's his role, Śukrācārya. But this is his story. At this stage, when Śukrācārya was still a boy, he used to roam through the beautiful valley of the Mandarachala mountains, enjoying the beautiful flowers, sparkling streams, and all the wondrous aspects of nature. As time passed, Śukrācārya became a young man. He had practiced meditation and austerity. Śukrācārya. But he had not yet freed his mind of raga, subtle attachments. His state was like that of a pendulum, swinging between the world of desires and the goal of desirelessness. In other words, he was immature in his spiritual movement. His father was on the highest level. Once while his father was absorbed in nirvikalpa samadhi, that lasted for a long time, Śukrācārya was occupying himself by watching the beautiful sights of nature. When he witnessed an apsara flying through the sky, she was decked with a garland of mandara flowers. Her garments were swaying in the gentle breeze. In a storyline, it makes it literally, he sees an apsara flying. The stories have their own freedom, you see. But your imagination has more freedom than you can imagine. So, suddenly Śukrācārya's mind switches in the beauty of nature, and some little bird flying in a nice way. He builds up a romantic picture within his mind. And in his visualization, not only he falls in love with the apsara, apsara has fallen in love with him. More she than he. afflicted with desire, as though wounded by the arrows of Kamadeva, Cupid god. Śukrācārya lost all awareness of his body and mentally became one with the Apsara. All this happens when his eyes are closed. With his eyes closed, he mentally began to travel along with the Apsara to Indraloka. Now the entire movement is just within his own mind. Where he saw the gods of the heaven decked with celestial ornaments. All that he had studied these scriptures, he sees them. He heard celestial music, watched the celestial stream Mandakini, met the great gods. He shook hands with the Lord Yama, moon god, Indra, sun god, fire god. Not only that, it was curious to know, to see the elephant on which Indra rides, a Ravata elephant. He diverted himself by watching the various scenes and sights of the heavenly world. No longer just hearing, seeing them. Following this experience, which occurred through his mind alone, just like in your dreams, so many things happen. Śukrācārya then perceived himself to go to the royal court of Indra. See, a dream-like experience. After saluting Indra, Indra got up from his throne and welcomed the son of sage Vrigu. Upon Indra's request, Śukrācārya stayed in the company of Indra for a short time and then went to see the groups of Apsaras. That was his real purpose. And he was delighted to find the Apsara who had enchanted his mind. And in turn, she was also delighted to see him in the heavenly world. See, good luck. Sentiments of love swept over their bodily frames, and they became deeply infatuated by each other. Śukrācārya then led the Apsara to a heavenly mansion, and with a mutual exchange of loving words, embraced each other. From that time on, both reveled in the pleasures of heaven, honeymoon life. Wandered by the banks of the Mandakini, sported in the midst of celestial groves, and passed their time in a state of intoxication. Time began to stretch. Time is created by your own mental illusion. After a long period of time, Śukrācārya and the Apsara exhausted their meritorious karmas and fell from the heavenly. This again is Śukrācārya's own evaluation of how things are happening. Because nobody else is there, it is his own mind. Divested of their heavenly garments and ornaments, deserted by the gods. You have read all that correctly, you see. Live in the world forever. But when good karma moves away, you have finished it. And suddenly the garlands they wither. And you simply fall from heaven The very same gods that were constantly your companion, now they don't care for you. This is not a very surprising thing. The same thing happens in the practical world. Everyone is led by their karma. When karma comes to an end, nobody can do anything about it. Divested of their heavenly garments and ornaments, deserted by the gods, deprived of their celestial chariot and other possessions, they fell earthwards, even like wounded warriors. All this is allegorical, but this is the description of soul in this practical world. Led by good karma, you enjoy a lot of prosperity. But how long will you enjoy will depend upon how much you are bonded with that karma. Once that karma is over, nobody is going to help you. They all help you only in accordance with your karma. You are therefore this soul responsible for what you are and what you are going to be. And that responsibility will be resolved profoundly if you were to go after who am I. So you are to be blamed for everything. And all that gets resolved when you hear the utterance, Tattvamasi. Thou art that. You are not the body, mind, you are that. They continue to wander with their subtle bodies until in course of time, Śukrācārya was born as the son of a Brahmin couple. Then, led by the impressions of past spiritual disciplines, he practiced intense austerity for a long time in a dense forest. All that mind is doing all that. And his body is near his father's body, whose father is in samadhi state. So he is not aware of what's going on with his son. But then the body has its own limitation. While mind goes on, Śukrācārya's body becomes inert, dead. But the body is not holding up body with him. I'm joking. That doesn't stop his experience. Body is just a little straw in the idea I am the body. I'm trying to explain that, bring that to you. That is like idea of a reflected sun. I am the pot. The reflected sun itself is not a reality. And holding on to the pot is ridiculous. Now, so in his next birth, he was son of a Brahmin couple. And he continued with his austerity. That was also the impressions in his mind. Yet backed up by his past karmic involvement, he again met the Apsara, who was also in her next embodiment. And they begot a male child. Śukrācārya became so attached to his son that he soon forgot all about his practice of meditation and other spiritual disciplines. No longer apsara is the problem. As time passed, his mind became increasingly involved in his son, while his body aged. Eventually, death devoured his body, even as a snake devours empty air. Since his last thoughts were directed towards worldly objects, he was born as the son of a king in the country of Madra. He ascended the throne. After ruling the kingdom for a long time, he died and was reborn as the son of an ascetic. After practicing intense austerity by the banks of Samanga river, he overcame the impressions of raga, attachment, that was creating mental illusions, and mentally became as stable as a tree unshaken by the winds. Now he comes close to attaining enlightenment. O Rama, while the mind of Śukrācārya continued to experience the celestial pleasures followed by its numerous embodiments. Now what happened to his physical body in the meantime? His physical body in the Mandarachala mountain became emaciated, dehydrated by the action of the sun and wind. It fell down like a tree cut at its roots. It was only because of the spiritual power of sage Bhrigu that animals of the forest had given up their natural instinct of destroying the body. Soon the body was reduced to a skeleton. The wind blowing through the holes of the skull created strange sounds. All the details Vasistha enjoys. The grinning teeth seemed to ridicule the vanity of worldly pleasures. All the wonderful things we have eaten. Scorched by the raging sun, tossed by the fierce winds, drenched in torrential rains, the poor body of Śukrācārya became the very embodiment of ugliness and inauspiciousness. After a long state of samadhi, Sri Bhrigu, the father, came back to normal consciousness. He looked for his dear son, Śukrācārya. You must realize the story. A person who has been nirvikalpa samadhi, instead of realizing I am Brahman, looks for his son. Finding Śukrācārya absent, he wandered through the ashram forests until he found the dead body. It was dried up like a stick, and little birds, see, there are birds like that, this much. If ashram has it also. Had nestled in the crevices of the skeleton. The rib cage appeared like a cave, where once shone the beautiful eyes. Worms began to abide, while frogs rested under the body. Spiders wove cobwebs. Overcome by sorrow at the untimely death of the son, sage Bhrigu prepared to curse the spirit of time by the force of his anger. He put his hand into the water, ready to curse time spirit, called Yama. Another name, Kal. Seeing this, Kala, the time spirit, appeared before him in human embodiment, in human personality, in a divine personality. The spirit of time was endowed with a strange mystic beauty. He had 6 arms on one side, 6 faces. 6 faces represent 6 seasons in India. And he had 12 arms. 6 arms, one side, 6 on the other, 12. 12 months. And he held celestial weapons. Fires emanated from the trident that he held, and all directions were illumined by his presence. Having approached sage Bhrigu, the time spirit said in a voice as deep as the sea, "O sage, great men are not overcome by delusion. Even when others have committed a wrong towards them, still they do not become agitated. You are giving vent to your anger without investigating into the truth of the matter." And so, time spirit tells him the story of what Śukrācārya brought upon himself through his own mental process. And then time spirit gives big philosophy. So with this setting, Sage Vasistha plans to give the whole insight, first to Rama and through Rama to every drama. Grammar ever to village. And with this we'll conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Nityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.